Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
That's a giant animal.
You ready? Everyone's ready?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome everyone to Research on the Road. Today is May 17 and we want to thank you all for joining us. We're here outdoors here in Gloria's property, and Gloria is our guest. She is actually an Exceed Alumni Educator 2018, and she's going to be able to share with us this picture here when she saw Hawaiian monk seal. Gloria, can you share with us where you saw it and what do you know about it, the Hawaiian monk seal?
Sure. This Hawaiian monk seal was seen on the island of Oahu. We are currently on the big island of Hawaii. Oahu is one of the older islands, whereas the big island is a much younger island. However, big island is much larger than Oahu, but Oahu has a larger population. Now, the monk seal here is laying out on one of our popular beaches, Sandy Beach, out in the east coast of Oahu. And he, or it could be a she, is probably molting. They only molt once a year. So they come on shore and they molt their fur. So they hang out in the sun, like sunbathing, and their fur peels off. And then they get new fur, which is kind of cool, like a worm casting, you know? Now, monk seals are one of the most endangered species of the Hawaiian monk seals are one of the most endangered as far as the seal population in North America. There are only two species that are indigenous to Hawaii, which is the hoary Hawaiian bat and the Hawaiian monk seal. So when they come out like this, you are not allowed to touch them. See the sign in the back? This sign in the back probably is saying, please distance yourself, social distancing from the seal. Do not harass him or her because there is a huge fine, and it's so that you don't also get hurt by them, because if they have pups, they will protect their pups and they will bite you if you come close to them. But most of the time they're very docile. They just sunbathe and then they go out in the ocean and they go feed on crabs, lobster, shrimp, and
at the Hawaiian Monk Seal Hospital. So it's a special place. Can you tell us so I can, a little bit about it, so I can put up the National Geographic website?
Sure. Kaolavai is it's like a monk seal hospital. It's the only one in the state. So whenever monk seals around the state are injured or have disease, like this picture here, this video here is our scientists and researchers who are vaccinating the seals from a virus that they found that was killing them. So similar to our pandemic situation right now, in order to prevent the seals from dying or getting ill, they need to be vaccinated. And so this is pretty interesting because you have to distance yourself away from the seal and be able to inoculate them with the vaccine. And it's kind of cool because they're pretty harmless until you poke them with a needle, and then they'll bark at you and then they'll go back to sleep. So the disease that they found is similar to the measles. So it's been pretty interesting that this vaccine has been able to prevent the seals from getting, from dying or getting ill.
Okay, so thank you, Gloria, for sharing. And now Emily will share a little bit about the Hawaiian monk seal as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the endangered status of them and the importance of the marine protected area and how it was set up in 2006, but quadrupled in size in 2016, I believe, under Obama. And so the MPA itself, the Marine Protected Area, it's mostly encompassing the northwestern, the more remote atolls and islands up there. And actually the vast majority of the monk seals live there. So they estimate that there's somewhere around 1,400 remaining monk seals, and that about 1,100 of them are in rookeries or breeding areas in those remote islands. And so it's pretty amazing that you were able to see one on Oahu, because they say there's fewer than about 300 believed to be on the main islands at any time. So,
Right.
what time of year was that, or what?
Usually between February and November. Now, we live on the Big Island. We've had sightings more in the Big Island than we have on Oahu.
Really?
Because I believe there's less predators on the Big Island.
Gotcha, yeah.
They're the predators that they're most fearful of are sharks.
Yes.
And then they also get into boating accidents. They get into fishing lines, and there's a lot more commercial fishing on Oahu than there is on the Big Island. And because we have the Monk Seal Hospital, which have actual volunteers that protect the seals when they are sighted. When they come and they're sighted, they put a tape around it. They have almost like daylight in the daytime when you can see them. There are volunteers that stay with the seal and educate the public about going around them, not harassing them, about the laws, and protecting them basically from the seals themselves, because seals, when they have pups, they're very aggressive if people are around them.
Yeah, that was one of the main issues. Is my cat. One of the main issues that I've heard is affecting them is, well, in the remote islands, they're protected not only by the MPA itself keeping people from them, but keeping commercial fishing out and any kind of development, mining, the drilling out there. Whereas the main islands aren't so well protected. There's a lot of state mandates and more local control. It's not quite as strict in the federally protected area.
Yeah, even in global waters. I mean, I think they're hunted in global waters.
That's what I guess historically they were hunted pretty significantly, much like any marine mammals at the turn of the 20th century there, late 1800s, 1900s. And even recently, I guess, in the areas where there is commercial fishing in Hawaii, they find that there's kind of contentious among the fishermen and the seals out there.
They do, and that's why we have laws that protect them, and there is quite a strong...
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you.
So if anyone watching has seen our very first episode of Research on the Road, this is an animal that will look familiar to you. This is Marie Curie. She's my other bearded dragon. Othniel is in a tank to my left. And as I said, she's a female. So I have one male, one female. Try not to let them see each other too much because I don't want babies on my hands. But I don't want to get Othniel out to show you, but bearded dragons can have different body shapes depending on the individual. So Marie is a bit of a fatty. She's a bit chunkier than Othniel, but she still manages to clamber around. Oh. And she's actually right now in the middle of shedding. So this piece came off her leg earlier. Don't know how well that's showing up. But like all reptiles, they will shed their skin usually in patches. So that is Marie Curie. So I will now turn things over to Daniel and see what he has for us today.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Wildman Dan here. Just got a little surprise for you. Got two little guys. They're actually in my hat right now. So let me go ahead and get them out real quick. Come here. Come on. No biting. Ow. No biting. Okay, relax. Okay, you're gonna bite. Where's my female? So I've got a male and a female. These guys are known as Abronia graminia. I'm going to go ahead and switch this way so I can actually, he bit me. So these guys are what are called Abronia graminia, also known as arboreal alligator lizard, or also known as the green arboreal Mexican alligator lizard. And the reason why they're called that is because, one, they have this beautiful green coloration, as you guys can see there. You guys see those gorgeous blue eyes right there of that male, and here's the female in my left hand. She's not as colorful as the male is, but she's definitely just as beautiful. These guys remind me of like dragons, and boy, can they be pretty aggressive, as you can see as he chomps down with my finger. But speaking of endangered species, these guys are also endangered. The reason why these guys are endangered is because of habitat loss, which means that their home has been destroyed multiple times to the point where they almost don't even have a home. So these guys are protected because they don't have a home, and we need to work on making sure that their homes are preserved. Their homes are in the highlands of Mexico. They love the rainforest where it's nice and humid and lots of trees, because these guys are arboreal. And arboreal means that they like to be way up high in the trees, which is exactly where you can find these guys. Absolutely beautiful, amazing creatures. This one right here is the little female. She's my sweetheart, and this is my grumpy boy, the male. And they are absolutely beautiful. His name is Tim, and her name is Tia. So Tia and Tim. But I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. I'll turn it back over to everybody else, whoever's going to close here.
Well, we have a question about your lizards.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What are some of the names that people use for them?
Some of the native names, I'm not too sure, but I'm sure that the locals have specific names that they call them. Their scientific name is Abronia graminia. The common name is arboreal alligator lizard, or also the green arboreal alligator lizard, because they kind of look like alligators, and they like to be way up in trees, and you can see they have like this bluish greenish tint on them.
So when we're talking Mexico, we're saying not the desert area, but more towards southern Mexico, the peninsula area.
As far as I was reading, it said highlands of Mexico. It's wherever you have more of the tropical rainforest type areas. I didn't actually look into it. I think one of the places was Veracruz, if I remember correctly, or something like that. If I remember, one of those areas, but definitely wherever they have tropical rainforests more.
That's really cool. I've never seen them before.
Yeah, they're absolutely incredible species, and endangered, of course. So I'm really lucky to have, something so cool as this. Even though he likes to bite,
well, I could tell when you pulled it out of your hair and it was already chewing on your finger. It was some kind of alligator lizard.
Looks really bright. I'm sorry.
The color of it.
Oh. Yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. Some of them are almost like completely blue. There are other different species that are black and white. These guys vary so much. And the really cool part is when they're babies, they are actually more of like no, don't bite your own tail. No, thank you. They're more of a dull color. They can be anywhere from like a dark gray to black and white as babies. And when they're babies, like I'm talking this big, folks, like less than an inch long. They are so tiny. They look like little insects. And these guys, I forgot, another really cool feature. This female will actually give birth to live babies. So she is ovoviviparous, which is just like the rattlesnakes and other species of skink. And there she goes. Well, there they have it.
Wow. So, and what do they eat?
So these guys, they're going to eat anything from like small insects to basically any invertebrate, any insect that is smaller than them. Since they're up in the trees, probably a lot of flies, crickets, anything that climbs up there. I'm gonna get them back in my hat. They really like to hide in my hair, which shows how much they love the trees and stuff.
Will eat when they're adults, mostly vegetables like leafy greens. Marie Curie really likes green beans and what was it? Bell pepper, but she'll eat just about anything you put in front of her. Othniel, my male, is a bit more of a picky eater. But then a couple times a week or once a week or so, they will get some insects that are, so like cockroaches or mealworms or superworms, something like that. And then you usually dust them with calcium or vitamin powders so they can get the nutrients that they need.
So yours looks really healthy though.
Yeah, she's very healthy. That's what I'm gonna call that punch in her belly. But that also could be some eggs. She lays eggs like, so they're kind of like chickens where they will lay eggs even if the eggs aren't necessarily fertilized. And I first saw her lay eggs, it was several months ago now, but I was terrified when I was tempted to glance over at her tank and there's like 15 eggs already lying around there. I didn't know what to do. But then I checked them with a flashlight and made sure they were infertile. But ever since then, she's, laid a few eggs ever so often.
On a regular basis and monitor for how many animals and how many different species they can find. And so it can be something as small as a little 1 square plot in your backyard, or you can pick your entire lawn. You can pick a wild field that you like to visit, your schoolyard, something along those lines. As long as it's a measurable area that you can observe and that you can personally keep track of. So what we'd like is just a basic observation period. Just fill out a form on maybe once a week. Go sit there for a specific time period, say maybe 30 minutes or an hour. Just watch and keep notes and track what you're seeing and maybe how many of them you're seeing. It doesn't really matter if you can identify it exactly to the species that it is, but the more detailed notes you can take, the better. And we can try to help refine it and get it down to the right species level. But yeah, so that'll be up on the website, and it's a Google form, so you can fill it in as you please, and please submit on a regular basis if you can. And then as we get more and more of them in, we're going to be putting them into a spreadsheet, and so we can compare different areas, we can compare different times of the year, different times of the day. So all of that should be pretty straightforward. Just if you just add to the form. So the form says what city, what size area you're watching, what the date is, the time of day, and then what you see there. And if there's a couple of basic questions, it should be pretty simple. So we're hoping to get a lot of involvement there if anyone would be willing to help us out.
Okay, that'd be great. And thank you so much for doing that and sharing that, because once you guys are on the road, hopefully sometime later in June, we'll be able to designate some areas to share on the forms as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you so much for sharing. I hope everything's okay with the bearded
See
dragon.
everybody. Thank you guys so much.
Have a good week.
Wild Man Dan is out.